Do you trust the government? Sure, maybe they won't detain you without trial, but do you really trust them to act in your best interests, to maintain a high moral standard and do what's right? If you don't, then you're not alone. Most people don't trust them. Gallup polls show that trust in the government is the lowest it's been in America since 1972. And people have not only lost faith in their political leaders, but their fellow citizens as well. Trust in the mass media and corporate sector has taken a similar nosedive, and not even God is exempt from this trend, with the public's faith in religious institutions dropping to its lowest point in decades. And this is not just an American phenomenon either. Australia, Britain, Canada, Japan, France, Spain, Germany, Russia, and countless other countries are all losing trust in their major establishments. It would seem that narcissism is no longer the main malady of modern culture. In fact, a flood of selfies and social media posts seems absolutely harmless when compared to our current situation. Many of us now believe that the institutions of our societies are nothing more than shams. If our governments, employers, and media were merely apathetic, that would be one thing. But we've peeked behind the curtain and seen incompetence, hypocrisy, and naked evil laid bare from the very establishments we've been told to trust. We feel, and not without reason, that we're ruled by a confederacy of liars and morons. We've entered a new age where there's no one we can believe anymore. We've entered the age of suspicion. What ushered in this new era of mistrust? After all, this kind of disillusionment is nothing new. The leaked Pentagon Papers revealed that the American government had misled the public during the Vietnam War. Soldiers and protesters alike learned that they had been deceived. Ethical breaches in journalism and corporate scandals are also time-honored traditions. As establishments repeated bad behavior, perhaps we just got used to it, trusting them less and less while accepting it as the way things are. But we never used to have the internet either. The Pentagon Papers had to be photocopied by hand, and television was the go-to source for information about the latest financial scandal. Now, it's all just a click away, delivered to our Twitters and our Facebooks as soon as a story breaks. In 2010, WikiLeaks released video footage passed on to them by Chelsea Manning that spread through the web like wildfire. It depicted a war crime where civilians and journalists were gunned down by the US military, and we got to see it unfold from a soldier's perspective. I have never seen war footage that visceral or immediate. It shocked me. The cruelty of the US military has never before been rendered so transparently. The information at our fingertips is detailed and vivid, and we don't even have to search it out anymore. It comes to us. Our friends send us daily updates on corruption and wrongdoing. Our satire takes aim at establishment stupidity and exposes it as entertainment. Cynicism and suspicion are no longer breaks from mainstream culture. They are mainstream culture. And yeah, these feelings were always present in the public climate, but technology amplified them. After all, technology accelerates everything. It helps us produce more and destroy more. Why wouldn't it kick our natural paranoia into overdrive as well? The downside of all this is that it instills a constant low-level anxiety. We don't believe that our institutions are working as they're supposed to, but instead of challenging this status quo, we participate in a society that we feel is overwhelmingly fake. Maybe not all politicians are selfish greed lords, maybe not all billionaires are social Darwinists, and not all journalists are unethical shysters, but here's the thing. Enough of them are. Hell, most of them are probably decent people, but there's still enough bad actors among them to erode our faith in the system. It's hard to tell the good ones from the liars, and it's far easier to just assume that everyone is lying to you. I think this is why we're seeing a resurgence of kooky conspiracy theories and fake news. Take the Flat Earth movement, for example. These people believe that the Earth exists as a disk instead of a sphere. They reject scientific consensus and believe that everyone from the government to Galileo has lied to them. They're often characterized as extremely gullible, but I think they suffer from the exact opposite problem. They're pathologically suspicious. To them, NASA is a shadowy conspirator, and arguments about curved horizons and varying constellations are fallacious at best. They do not trust scientists or establishments. In fact, they base their beliefs on the opposite of what these people tell them. Their sense of skepticism has been twisted to the point where they don't trust anything, not even each other. People are also flocking to the outrage peddlers at Breitbart and the conspiracy theorists at InfoWars. A wealth of well-off, educated people in the latter's case. They spurn traditional news outlets, which, flawed as they are, still do a lot of honest reporting. Instead, they choose to listen to Alex Jones. And really, how low does your faith in the mass media have to be that this guy seems reasonable by comparison?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay!
Of course, the enduring popularity of such crackpots has nothing to do with their credibility. Their ridiculousness is a tired joke, and most of them are well-known liars. But they also tell people one thing that they know in their hearts to be true. They reinforce the narrative that we're being deceived. The specifics don't have to be correct, just the general sense that we're being lied to. At least these liars tell us the very obvious truth that we're being screwed. And they gain support by chastising a corrupt establishment, despite being even worse. That's the problem with living in an age of suspicion. The public is so sick of institutions that fail to represent them that they'll put their faith in the worst kind of opportunists so long as they seem like outsiders. The psychiatrist Carl Jung brought the term enantiodromia back into modern usage. It's what happens when the abundance of one force produces its opposite. By acting with constant, extreme suspicion, we actually become more susceptible to cons that play on our distrust. We ironically become the most credulous people of all. But it's hard to break this cycle of paranoia, especially when it's somewhat justified. Our governments routinely lie in the service of wars that cause massive casualties. The media vanguard speaks with a certainty that we know to be false, and we, the general public, believe all sorts of falsehoods because they're appealing to us. We could always investigate the truth ourselves, we could pore over raw data and peer-reviewed research, but that's the last thing I personally want to do after a 40-hour work week. It requires energy and dedication, which are scarce resources. I know that some people like to pretend that the truth is easy to diagnose, that facts and fiction can be quickly distinguished, but that's not always the case. And if we were more comfortable with uncertainty, I don't think that we'd be so quick to trade in one lie for another. If we're slow to trust, then we also need to be slow to distrust. The world has even started to doubt academics when a lot of these people spend their lives doing extensive research so we don't have to. If you can carve out even an hour a week, then read their studies and their books. Don't trust them blindly, but don't believe that they're just eggheads in ivory towers because some guy told you so. In the end, we're going to have to foster a culture where we think critically and accept ambiguity. But more than that, the system itself must change. If I can push my own opinion here, and I mean more so than I already have, then I'd like to express my incurable optimism. I don't believe that people in general are inherently bad. In fact, we're a lot better than we used to be. But the current systems we have in place reward lying and power plays. If a wide range of people go into the political machine only to become yes-men and shills, then that says far more about our system of government than it does our people. We need to fight for transparency. We must work to create a system that is synchronized with the needs of all groups of people. A system that encourages truth instead of self-interest. A system where anyone who dares mislead the public is removed from office. It will not be easy to achieve, and it is only likely to be achieved through a mass movement. But if we, the people, can do it, then maybe we can find a way out of the age of suspicion. Thank you so much for watching my video, and if you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers, mates.